We're actually in the shop this morning. We're going to do some of the cool rally cars we have in the shop. We have a special event coming up, and we've been preparing some special cars. And I thought we would go through them this morning and do a little bit of a tutorial because it's a rare opportunity. I'm joined here this morning by Tim Kuhn, who's our sales manager.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, Mom. I think she's on.
And really, the big boss is here, my father, Bob Ingram, for you guys.
Morning, everybody. Great to be with you.
Sporting his Roadscholars shirt, so that's pretty cool. So we're going to start with this 1967 911R. This is a chassis 3, and of course, as many of you know, R stands for Rennen, race. This was Porsche's first attempt to build a 911 race car. These cars are amazing. If you ever have had the opportunity to drive one, this is a Ferdinand Piëch project that he built. It has fiberglass fenders, hood, and bumpers with a fiberglass rear engine lid as well. Completely stripped out interior. Again, they wanted to reduce the weight. And in pretty remarkable feat with plexiglass windows on the quarter here with the vents. Plastic handle pulls, which is one of the coolest details on a 911R. And of course, the famous 911R shell seats and rally equipment. This car, chassis 3, was actually a works car. So this is one of the 3 cars that was taken to Monza for the world record attempt. And it was not used, but this was a backup car. My father's going to assist me here, open up the... And of course, this has the beautiful 901/22 engine. This is basically a 906 engine with the magnesium case and titanium connecting rods, producing 210 horsepower, right at 8,000 RPM. This thing is a masterpiece. This car really feels special when you drive it. You really feel the lightness of being. The acceleration is really magical. It has, of course, the Weber IDA 46s, which dump plenty of fuel and air into the engine. But again, the titanium connecting rods and magnesium case, one of the really special features of this engine, really a continuation of the 906 engines. But you can also see, again, everything is a weight loss exercise, this plexiglass rear wing. And what I love about these cars today that we're looking at, these are all basically homologation cars. So you have the 911R we're looking at, this 1968 Trans Am car, also known as a rally kit car in Europe, 73 RS rally car, and of course we'll get to the SCRS. And what's really cool is my father loves these cars, and many of our other clients do, is that these cars are street legal. These are all registered, they're all titled, so you don't have to wait for another Rennsport event. You can drive these to Cars and Coffee, or you can go blasting out in the country with your friends. And what's another special story about this car was actually ran as a works rally car for 2 races in 68 and 69, and it won 3rd place. But in 1970, it had its pivotal win at the Grand Tour Auto in France, where they raced the circumference of France like the bicycle race. This car started going up the leaderboard, and as it went up the leaderboard, it started gaining sponsorship. So Esso wanted to be part of this car. You can imagine they didn't have the Esso team as it started the race. Later on, Dunlop wanted to be part of this car, so they picked up the Dunlop livery. And then, Credit Agricole all of a sudden said, wow, this car is going to win the race. So it's a really fascinating story of this particular 911R winning one of the most pivotal races in Europe, Grand National Auto, Tour de Auto, and picking up all these sponsorships as it ran and became more successful during the week. So, really cool car. All right, now we're going to move on to this. This is my father's, one of his favorite cars in the collection. So this is actually a collection car, as is the R. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about it, Pop?
Well, as you know, Cam, these are called rally kit cars in Europe and Trans Am cars here in the U.S. They made 28 of them. This car was owned originally by John Kelly, who raced it once, won the race, and then pretty much put the car away. So it's relatively unmolested. Roadscholars team just did a phenomenal refreshment of the car. It's a great driving car. We take this car to VIR for track days as we do the R. as we do all of these kind of cars that we're privileged to be caretakers of. But I'm really fond of this car. You can drive this on the street. It's easy to drive. It has the factory roll cage. Again, the lightweight seats. And I'm just really proud, Cam, of the job that you and your team at Roadscholars did to refresh this car. It probably wasn't this good when it left the factory.
So what's really cool about these cars, and for anyone out there that doesn't know, Sport Purpose was a program that Porsche put together after the 911R program. And they saw the possibilities of the 911R. So they came up with a book called Sports Purpose Programs for Customers. And they could basically order a 911, a 911T, a 911L, or a 911S. And it was a book that was a la carte of race options you could pick for your very special 911. Again, these were known as Trans Am cars in the United States. These are rally kit cars. They were ordered with all kind of options. So again, a la carte, you didn't have to go full bore and order everything, but you could really spec these up for racing. This particular car has almost every option you could order. It has the Talbot mirrors mounted on the fenders. It's got limited slip differential. I'm trying to remember all the options. It's got an extended fuel tank. It has a sound deadening delete. It has the 911R shell seats ordered from the factory. It has the Jackie steering wheel, Jackie Stewart steering wheel, one of my favorite options from this era. It's a really known. That was in the Sports Purpose catalog. And you can see how stripped out this car is. So this is a 911L model. And again, you could order a 911, a 911T, a 911L or S, and you could go a la carte on all the options. This was ordered with the roll cage. So this is if the 911 has the 911, that's the 901/22 engine on the R magnesium case. This is the 901/30 engine. This is also one of my favorite engines. This is producing 160 horsepower. So this is an L model that was stripped out from the factory with all these race options per the Sports Purpose program. But this car is really magical because it has basically a modified S engine in it. So it's produced about 160 horsepower. Again, this is, in my personal belief, they made 28 of these. 2 of them were recently discovered, so they've made 30 of them now. Really special cars that are underappreciated in the Porsche world for what this program represented for Porsche. So we're going to move on. This is one of our favorite cars in the shop. Nerf Lara, our parts manager, loves this car. We've been blasting this on social media recently. Again, this is one of the favorite cars that's come through the shop. This is a 1973 RS. This is an early car, second series touring car. It was delivered to Sonauto, the famous dealership in France. They got so many cool race cars back in the day. This is a second series touring car, so it's a very early car, and it has the lightweight panels. So it was delivered with all the lightweight sheet metal that the 2.7 RSs were delivered with. And again, this was a homologation car. And like so many RSs, because these were such competitive race cars in the day, this car was transitioned to a M471 lightweight in period. So that means in 1973, the owner went ahead and transferred this car with all the lightweight parts. What's fascinating about this car is it's a numbers matching car. It ran the Monte Carlo Rally, which any of you know is a grueling rally. On any given stage, you're going to be racing in rain, snow, ice, and hot weather. It's a crazy rally in period. This car ran it 5 times, and it won its class 1 time. Then it went on to run Tour de France as well and did very well there. But all the years of ownership, it was never wrecked, which is an incredible story. And again, when I go back to talking about archival or material biography, the guy who owned this car originally, this guy, Jose Grandou, was an amazing character. Again, he raced Monte Carlo 5 times in this car and did so well. And he loved this car. He took care of it and owned it for 30 years. And it's a car that's had every owner documented since new. And we love cars with that kind of provenance. It's really exciting to see every owner that's owned the car. You can see these additional rally lights that are so impressive. The CBs on the front, the Marshall, big cat eyes. These are really killer. This is a really fast, one of the favorite cars we've had come to the shop over the years. We're excited about it. This is going to one of my best friends in Europe. We sold this to the famous Paul Zuckerman with Spike Ferriston on their podcast. He had it for a number of years, and it's back in our shop. And really, hopefully, fortunately, if things return to normal in the world, it's going to be racing at the Monte Carlo Rally next year. So the historic Monte Carlo. So it's going to go back home. So it's a pretty great story. So we're going to end up over here. Come on over here, Pop. This is the mighty SCRS. For years, this was probably one of the most underappreciated RS models, not really known about. This is one of the rarest ones. Obviously, starting with the R, they made 24 prototypes, so 24 total. And they made 20 SCRSs. They actually made 2 additional ones after production, but we don't consider those. But this is one of 20. There's only so many Porsches that are that one of 20. Thinking about the Carrera Abarth, the C4 lightweight as well, which my father used to own, chassis 1. And, of course, the mighty SCRS. These cars are amazing. This is one of 6 ROTHMANS Porsche-sponsored factory cars. These were turned into rally cars by David Richards. And this was Porsche's first attempt to make a real rally car back in 1983, 84. It's an amazing program, what David Richards did to transform these. When these were initially produced by Porsche, they weren't that successful in rallying because they weren't beefed up enough.
As you said, these were done by David Richards and his ProDrive team. And David Richards, as many of you know, went on to great success at F1 with Benetton. And this car has great history. And one of the drivers that won several rallies with it was Saeed Al-Hari, who often was referred to as the King of the Desert.
King of the Dunes.
King of the Dunes, yeah. And, it tells you how serious that racing was when you see not only the drivers' names on the door, but their blood types, which tells you just how dangerous that racing series was.
Right. And I think, Cam, you mentioned briefly, obviously the 73 RS, they made nearly 1,500 cars. A lot of people tend to think that the 92 964 RS is the next one in succession, but it is indeed the SCRS. And a couple years back, maybe some of you remember, Porsche released a video of their top 5, the museum, their top 5 most collectible Porsches, and this was actually number 2 on the list.
Number 2 by Porsche.
But as far as the iconic RSs go, this is the hardest one to obtain and near unobtainium, really.
What's cool about this car is it ran 13 international rallies with 3 different drivers, Saeed, the King of the Dunes, being one of the most well-known, but it was also raced by 2 other really world-famous Finnish drivers. This is the most original SCRS in the world that has been raced. It's literally left as it left its last race. It's a fascinating car, so much fun to drive. Grueling stuff. Look at the back seat. Look how trick all this is. It's just so cool. All the details, all the rally equipment, all the period rally equipment from the early 80s is in this car. Original body panels, which is unheard of for an SCRS. And of course, this has the infamous 930 8/18 engine, which is one of my favorite motors. This is basically based on a 3-liter RS case with all kinds of trick stuff. It has the Kugelfischer mechanical fuel pump in the back, which is just a piece of artwork. This motor produces 255 horsepower. And another really cool thing about this car is that this is one of the engines that raced with the car in period and won in period. This actually won the 24-hour Belgium race, and it also won a race in Ireland. So in race cars, it's really tough, as everyone knows, to have the actual engine from the period that raced with the car. And this came with 3 binders from David Richards. My father happens to be the 3rd owner of this car. It's a really special car.
I love the map light, which was for the navigator so that in the dark he could read his maps. And you can see all of the instrumentation.
Additional map lights. Rodrigo.
Analog, antiquated stuff is so cool.
this is such a cool car. Again, this car with the 911R, which was the Porsche's first statement of a 911 race car. The sport purpose Trans Am car, as well as the 73 RS that's going to a new client. Well, not a new client, but actually a best friend in Europe. It's actually going to be used. He's going to drive it in the Monte Carlo historic event, hopefully next year if it happens. We're all looking forward to that. So anyways, we wanted to take this time to just kind of go over these cars in the shop. Ray's going to come on here in a little bit. Yes, David, that is Dave. That is the ex-Zuckerman car. We sold this to Zuckerman. He's a great guy.